What's up? So today we have another Terry Farrell interview or magazine here. This one is from SFX, or maybe that's not. Maybe that's not an F. Maybe that's an E. I can't tell. But this is SFX or whatever that is, 3001, and this is the biggest ever issue. And was originally, this is from April 1997, and was originally $2.95. Wait, did I say 1995? I meant to say, oh no, $2.95, right. This is one of those real old 90s magazines, old school. And that's what I was talking about. Interview Terry Farrell. It's just a job, says DS9's Dax. And there's a bunch of other stuff. Star Wars things. That was pretty big back in the 90s. Cash Cow. Record's broken and Star Wars does it again. Yeah, back in 1997 and all that. That was pretty big, you know. You have some other Star Trek stuff here. Not one, but two new Trek movies. They were still coming out with the Next Generation videos. Those were some of the other big sci-fi TV shows and movies back in the 90s. Babylon 5, Mars Attacks, and the other one was called, there was a bunch of them, but those were some of them. I forget what the other one was called. There was another big one, I think it was Battlestar or something. Oh, and this was also pretty big, but I'm not really sure why it's in a 1997 magazine. V was a, for those of you who don't know, V was a pretty big video on, or in the not the 90s, the 80s. And I don't remember when it came out, but they had like several parts or several different V's and stuff, or episodes. But films or movies, that was pretty big back then too, in the 80s. Some toys and stuff. Yeah, this is definitely 90s. The 1997, the internet was only a couple of years old, and they got those real old school, like Windows 95 or whatever this stuff is from. And the internet it only existed for a couple of years, from like 1993, I think it was. People were still, you know, checking that out, you know, what's up with the internet, you know, it was brand new basically. You know, now it's, you know, it's an everyday thing, you know, it's no big deal, but back in the 90s that stuff was just getting started. They were still doing the, or building the information highway, is what some people called it. And it was huge, all the software and stuff, all the video games. That's actually how DS9 and a lot of the next generation was able to be so popular, is because all the technology was improving, the computer technology, and they were able to do a whole lot more. I think it was like when the next generation Star Trek started, like they had like little models and stuff, but then towards the end of the next generation, and especially with Deep Space Nine, they used the a lot more of the computer stuff to have all the effects and like ships and a lot of that stuff. Okay, and so here is the Terry Farrell article that they call, or have written here, 1 in a trillion. SFX profile, not bad for a 350-year-old. And they have some Terry Farrell or Dax pictures. This one says, Farrell doesn't believe the writers of DS9 have fully exploited the fact that Dax is over 300 years old and spent most of her life as a man. This other one says, when I first joined, I was told it would be the darker Star Trek, that it would be more like Star Wars, and that we would have conflict. Excuse me. So, here we go. This article says, or starts off as, once she was signed up with modeling agency Elite, now she's signed up to Starfleet as Lieutenant Commander Jadzia Dax on, this will focus on DS9. But hey, it's only a job, as Terry Farrell tells Stuart Banks. There are times when I think the writers underestimate what Dax would know or how emotionally she would handle something, says Terry Farrell candidly. The model-turned-actress isn't in the mood to be reticent or spout the usual PR-friendly spiel. Indeed, today she's being positively forthright about the faults and limitations with both her character, Jadzia Dax, and DS9. But then Farrell isn't the sort of girl to mince words. She's the first to admit, for instance, that the first 3 seasons of DS9 didn't help her case, feeling that her role as an ancient, highly intelligent symbiont who had gone through a number of host bodies, both male and female, hadn't been fully explored by the writers. Sometimes I have to do what is written on the page, how they want me to do it, when I think if I was 350 years old, I think I'd be more centered about this. What makes it difficult is that there are no 350-year-old human beings around to ask what it's like to be that way. It's a bit like when they used to get rid of Data on the Next Generation because he had superhuman strength, and if he was there, he would have saved the day in the first 5 minutes. Not that she's ignorant of the reasons for Dax taking a back seat. In fact, she seems remarkably clued up about the workings of US TV. When the subject turns to ratings, when we come back to work, we're told the ratings are high. But if we all want a raise, we're told, oh, the ratings are really bad. I hope this doesn't sound negative, but there is that element of doing the same thing all the time. We basically play the same thing, where it's, oh, the station or somebody's in jeopardy, and we go and save them. After 5 years of that, it's like I'm going through the motions. However, with 8 regulars, I think you'd be expecting too much to explore every single character in depth, especially when they have so many recurring figures and guest stars that you can't possibly get to know one character so completely, but I do think the writers have written themselves into a corner with Dax. There was so much they could write, and yet it's taken so long to develop her. They didn't know what they wanted me to do, so how could I play it? So how could I play it? I had a far greater struggle from the first to the third season, trying to figure out what the producers wanted. The first season was the hardest, especially having to deliver all the technobabble. I think a good thing about when the series finishes is that whenever I end up doing next, the complex language won't be anywhere near as daunting. When I first started playing Dax, it was hard to portray that serenity she always seems to have. It is easier to assume that mantle now, but I am still more neurotic than her. Not that Farrell thinks Dax is the only element of DS9 which has been underdeveloped. She also feels the show has gone a little bit off the rails. When I first joined, I was told it would be the darker Star Trek, that it would be more like Star Wars, and that we would have conflict. I personally haven't experienced Dax having that many conflicts. I think as an actress it is much more interesting to play a conflict, because it is a definite action and it makes you analyze how you feel about something. I guess it would be nice to see me having more conflicts with people, or to be a part of somebody's conflict and helping them through it. I think that it's a little too unrealistic how we all get on so well. I mean, they set up that Quark and Kira don't get along, but you don't really feel it in a realistic sense. There isn't that edge to them, and that air of hostility is missing. I wish it was a little more believable instead of like our action figures. In addition, Farrell feels that being part of a franchise stops the show fulfilling its potential. I think DS9 has definite boundaries because of the rigid formality of Starfleet. We're supposed to be the heroes all the time, which lends itself to that human quality of wanting to be perfect all the time. We always have the right answer and make the right move, but I sometimes feel this is a little unrealistic. But despite her vocal complaints, Farrell clearly enjoys being in a regular series. I don't feel trapped. I feel like I'm here for a reason, to learn about myself and about being in the same place for a long time. I think you notice your personal growth a bit more when you're in the same situation, doing the same thing. So does she think that being an attractive woman helped or hindered playing Dax? I think I was chosen for the role to offset the way the character was written, because it goes against the stereotype that a woman who is attractive can't be intelligent, right? I like the dichotomy. I suppose when you look at Dax, having someone who is beautiful and intelligent works as a weapon. Other characters don't expect it, and the writers have used that. Others don't realize that I'm 350 years old. The experience that comes with that. So what attracted her to the role? Dax is a complicated character, serene yet with an adventurous quality. And being on Star Trek, mostly because I was a fan of the old show, I like the futuristic aspect. It softens the message which the show delivers. In some respects then, DS9 has lived up to my expectations. But not in all respects, obviously. At first it was kind of a struggle, but I do think it has been rewarding. But although I can't think of specifics, I do wish we were more controversial. A good example might be in Rejoined, with the situation of my ex-wife. We could have tackled things a little more head-on there. Ah yes, Rejoined. When that particular 4th season episode was made, in which Dax falls in love all over again with an ex-partner who's female. Farrell knew they were going to court media controversy. In fact, the controversy began even before the episode aired. We were aware at the time we were going to be doing something which caused a stir, because the writers and the producers had a fight with the studio to even start pre-production on the story. It was a sensitive issue and everybody was concerned about being honest about the show. In that respect, filming this episode was one of the most tender, sensitive shows I've ever worked on. It had a serene quality to it, and everybody was extremely sensitive. It was important to be completely honest at all times, even when it was at its most obvious. When I had to kiss her, it was a challenge. I had to be free enough within myself to take down the walls and convince myself as an artist that I was attracted to her. When it came time to doing the deed, Farrell confesses that she was nervous about the kiss. When we, Farrell and Susanna Thompson, who played Dax's lover, Lenara, talked about doing it, we were nervous about whether it would be good, and nervous about people's reactions. I was worried whether they would believe it. I was determined to try as hard as I could. The good reaction is to have gay people love it, and they did. I think I was most nervous at having my gay friends watching the episode and enjoying it. When they saw the episode, they respected me for it. Then I knew I'd accomplished my job. When I get asked about that episode by the press or by fans, it doesn't get tiring because it is such an important issue. But after that brief moment in the limelight, Farrell feels things have become a little staid of late. The show's 5th season, currently airing in the US, has offered her few big roles. There's not been much focus on my character this season. I've been a part of things, but I don't feel that Dax has gone through any big transformations. Maybe it's because I've been on it so long, but pardon me, it feels like I'm just going to work, especially if you don't have an episode that focuses on your character going through a growth situation. Looking at it, I just get the feeling that we go in, take what comes along, and play it. While Season 5 may not have had many key episodes for Dax, Farrell at least admits that working on Trials and Tribulations was a joy. You can tell we all had a good time making that episode, she recalls of the Trek 30th anniversary tale in which the DS9 cast were integrated Forrest Gump style with footage from the original Trek episode The Trouble with Tribbles. Everybody was excited from every aspect of doing that show. What I liked was that you got to see a more comedic side to my character, which I rarely play, which I think is insane, because to me that is what I loved about the original show, that they had that banter where they were able to just push each other's buttons, and it was always in a humorous way. One other aspect of the 5th season which Farrell has enjoyed has been the developing relationship with Worf, previously Deanna Troy's other half on TNG. Farrell reckons it was a logical step for Worf to fall for Dax, as both she and Troy are strong women. We actually become a couple, and he has more problems with it than I do. The trouble develops when Worf wants to get married, and I want us to stay a couple, but not married. They don't actually deal with this, but when I'm in these scenes with him, I think that Dax admires his passion and his soul, but still feels that she knows so much more that she can't tie herself down to him. Although she's enjoying it now, I think she knows that it would only bring him misery if he were in her life too much. But it's a minor distraction for Farrell, who admits with resignation, I don't play a lot of different things anymore, so the excitement of the hiatus, me getting to play something other than Dax, is more prominent in my mind. So the next time you hear someone criticize Terry Farrell for looking like she's acting on automatic, you'll know why. And that was the end of that interview or article. So here's some of the Terry Farrell or Dax pictures, and it says here, it was a very sensitive issue in Rejoined, and everybody was concerned about being very honest. Then there's some more, or a few more Dax pictures. And it says here, top left in the alternate, Dax talks to the scientist who experimented on and raised Odo. Right hand strip, a series of shots from the episode which Farrell most enjoyed filming, the 5th season masterpiece Trials and Tribulations, in which the DS9 crew interacted with footage from the original series episode The Trouble with Tribbles. And so that's the other picture. And so I'm guessing, I'm not really sure, but I think that's one of the bottles, or I think that prop there, that bottle, is where that thing came from in one of the toys. Because one of the toys, it came like with a little bottle of, I don't know what it was, Bajoran wine or something. And I guess that's where that came from, that episode or something. And so the rest of this is just all kinds of other articles and like advertisements and stuff. There's some Babylon and Star Wars and things. Too dangerous to live, too powerful to destroy. Oh. I'm going to see if I could get this to focus a little bit more. I don't know if you could see this very well or not, but what you're looking at here is that's LA. That's a picture of LA. Like there's the AT&T building and some of the other like banks and stuff. Yeah, that's LA in the 80s. And these guys, or these people, it looks like they have it kind of looks like they have like trill spots, but all over their head. There's some stuff from the V movie. Is this gonna focus? Come on. Yeah. Sometimes it takes a minute to zoom. Are you gonna focus? Or are you gonna act up? That's a little better, I guess. It says, the cunningly disguised leaders of the visitors in V. Advertisement for some 90s video games. They had some really cool stuff or good stuff going on then. Back then they were, the big thing was Super Nintendo, Genesis, Sega Genesis, and all that other stuff. I thought that was pretty cool, you know. That was like, you know, 20, 30 years ago or whatever, you know. Oh, that's some weird hairstyle going on there. It says here, the big freeze. Schwarzenegger goes bad for the first time since the Terminator. Some more 90s stuff. Oh, what is this? It's a weird little 90s contraption there. It says here, below, Arthur C. Clarke, now a resident of Sri Lanka, makes use of the island's sun to drive a rare solar-powered CS. What's playing? Huh. Some old books. Or some advertisements. Huh. Here is a advertisement for an alien show bat lift, $150 aluminum. And that bat lift is either aluminum or stainless steel. And this other one is aluminum, mild steel, or stainless. There's some other stuff too. What's going on in 1997? Europe's largest science fiction film and cult TV collectors fair, with dealers from the UK and continent, plus specialist fan clubs and displays of rare items. Over 500 dealer tables each day guaranteed, plus star signings, displays, fan clubs, US dealers. I guess that's just some of the stuff they will have or had. And the rest of this is just all kinds of like 90s stuff, like Third Rock from the Sun, X-Files, and some other things. Oh, it says here SF TV Top 10, Dwarfing It All, spectacular success for the new dwarf, while Dark Skies looks to be a hit too. Terrestrial TV SF Top 10. Red Dwarf 7, Dark Skies, Star Trek TNG, The X-Files, Third Rock from the Sun, Voyager, Deep Space Nine, GOGS, Star Trek, Space Above and Beyond. Some more stuff. And another picture of LA. Those are the AT&T building. I want to say the Aon building, and that's a bank. One of the banks, I think. Is it? Oh, the letters are too... The letters in the picture are too... Or the picture's too... It's too smoggy. Can't see. Can't really see what that says on that building. Or cloudy, or whatever was going on there. Oh, that was a pretty big. That's another. Again, I don't really know what this old stuff is doing up in a '90s magazine. Yeah, Blade Runner. That was another pretty big '80s movie. I think it was from 1980, 1981. I don't remember exactly. Yeah, that was a pretty big movie at the time. Oh, this isn't about that. It's about, I guess, behind the scenes, or how they made the film, and all the extra details and stuff. Oh, and there's another picture. Oh, some more Batlift advertisements. And toys and stuff. And that is that.